There are absences that speak louder than presence. You no longer see them. They don't write. Their name fades from conversations. But something, inexplicably, still lingers in the silence of your nights, in the strange timing of certain songs, in the dream that comes without warning, in that ache that knows exactly where to press, just when you think you've moved on. Jung called this a psychic residue, when the soul holds an imprint because the story wasn't integrated, when your unconscious doesn't agree with your memory, when something deep inside insists this didn't finish. Gregg Braden's teachings remind us that emotion is not just chemical, it's vibrational memory. Your body becomes an instrument of unresolved harmony, a haunted violin still tuned to a vanished hand. But this echo is not punishment, it's presence, a vibrational ghost, not of the other, but of what your soul still wants to become. You're not fragile for feeling this. You're not confused. You are simply still in conversation. Let's begin this journey into the sacred space where memory meets meaning. Time has passed. The days have rearranged themselves into new routines, but something within hasn't moved. You wake up and they're not there, yet your chest still contracts as if they might walk in. Their messages stopped, but your body still waits for a notification. The calendar says it's over, but your unconscious didn't receive the memo. Jung understood this. The psyche doesn't obey time. When someone enters your emotional landscape, they leave footprints that don't wash away with distance. They become part of your symbolic architecture, not as they were, but as they meant to you. What aches in you isn't just missing them. It's your soul still in dialogue with the energy they represented. A longing, a mirror, a possibility. The ego says, it's over. But the soul replies, not until I understand why you were here. This isn't obsession. It's incomplete individuation, the sacred process where the self reclaims its pieces through relationships. What you feel is not their presence. It's your own soul holding on to what still needs to be integrated. The echo isn't them. It's you calling yourself back. In times of emotional pain, the idea of cutting energetic ties can feel like relief, a final gesture of liberation. But what if the bond that remains isn't a rope, but a message? Much of modern spirituality speaks of cord cutting, as if love were an error to be deleted, as if memories could be erased with rituals done in haste. But the soul does not respond to force, only to meaning. Psychic attachments are not residues of weakness. They are echoes of something unfinished, symbols of what was touched, awakened, and then left unclaimed. Jung knew that the psyche works in symbols. When a connection returns to your thoughts again and again, it is not asking to be cut, but understood. Gregg Braden teaches that true release doesn't come from severing ties, but from achieving emotional coherence. A sacred alignment between what the heart feels and what the soul has learned. When you try to remove someone without listening to what their presence activated, the energy does not disappear. It simply retreats into the unconscious, where it haunts instead of heals. The bond that lingers may not be a chain, it may be a mirror, still waiting for your eyes to see what was really being reflected. The soul doesn't need closure through forgetting. It longs for remembrance through transformation. Not every departure is a betrayal. Some people leave, but their echo remains, not to torment, but to awaken. What if the reason they linger in your memory is not because they were meant to stay, but because they opened a part of you that was never allowed to speak before? Perhaps they didn't break you. Perhaps they stirred something sacred. A voice you silenced long ago, a desire you feared to feel, a truth you didn't know how to name. Jung reminded us that what we project onto others is often what we exiled in ourselves. And when someone enters your life like a flame, lighting up what was hidden, the soul doesn't forget that fire. You may think you miss them, but look closer. What you miss might be the you that awoke in their presence. Gregg Braden suggests that every strong emotional connection carries a frequency, a resonance between who we are and who we are becoming. Their exit wasn't abandonment, it was the start of your unfolding. What you are feeling is not absence. It is your becoming, still unfinished. They stirred something that was never theirs to carry, but always yours to reclaim. There are bonds that, even long after ending, continue to shape the silence between your words. They influence the way you look at new faces, the caution behind your smiles, the subtle comparisons you pretend not to make. When love ends without integration, it doesn't disappear. It disperses like invisible particles into every new beginning. You meet someone else, but part of you is still listening for a familiar voice. You try to be present, yet a fragment of your heart remains elsewhere, still in conversation with the past. This is not weakness. It is resonance. Greg Braden explains that our nervous system becomes attuned to emotional frequencies. If the goodbye was sudden, incomplete, or symbolically loaded, your system stays open, still searching for closure that never came. Jung spoke of symbols that remain active in the unconscious. When a love is left unresolved, it can become such a symbol, projecting itself into your present, whispering its unfinished lines into your new stories. This is why some relationships feel blocked. It's not that your heart is closed, it's that your soul is still waiting for a translation, for a final word, for a meaning that allows the energy to return to stillness. Until then, the door remains slightly ajar, not to invite them back, but in case you finally walk through and listen. Imagine your inner life as a quiet house. Some rooms hold joy, others silence. Some are closed with folded memories resting gently on their shelves. But one room remains lit. It's not loud, it doesn't scream, but there it is, a single light glowing from within. You walk past it pretending not to notice, but its quiet brightness keeps calling something in you home. This is the space where that person still exists, not in reality, but in the symbolic architecture of your soul. Not because you are waiting, but because something in you is still conversing. Jung often said that symbols live on when they have not completed their journey within us. The lit room is not about them. It's about you. About what part of yourself still sits there, replaying a scene, asking a question, waiting for an answer that never arrived. Greg Braden teaches that coherence happens not when we suppress the past, but when we harmonize its message into our emotional field. This light is not weakness. It is remembrance. It is the soul keeping vigil over what was too meaningful to bury without a prayer. You are not broken for having a light still on. That room may hold the story of who you were when you were most awake, most vulnerable, most alive. And sometimes we don't turn off the light because part of us is still there, learning. She thought she had let go. She changed cities, changed numbers. She even said the words out loud, "It's over." And yet every few weeks he returned, not in life, but in dreams. 9 years had passed. Still, he showed up in symbols, in sensations, in moments of inexplicable presence. At first, she believed it was obsession. Then she thought it was punishment. But slowly, she began to ask a deeper question. What if these dreams aren't about him at all? In therapy, the truth surfaced like a forgotten letter at the bottom of a drawer. What haunted her wasn't the man. It was the version of herself that came alive beside him. During those short 3 months, she had laughed with her whole body. She had spoken truths she had never dared before. She had touched a wilder, softer self, and then buried it the moment he left. Jung said that dreams are messages from the soul, not to remind us of the past, but to reveal what was left unclaimed. Greg Braden speaks of cellular memory, the way emotional awakenings leave imprints in our energetic field. Her soul wasn't longing for him. It was remembering the woman she became when she was finally seen. The dreams were not attachments. They were invitations to retrieve herself, to become, without him, what she once only glimpsed through him. Did you enjoy the content and it made a difference for you? Click on Super Thanks and support our work. There are presences that don't live in the world anymore, and perhaps never fully did. They live in the threshold, in that space between memory and myth, in the silence beside your pillow, in the mirror of your longing. Jung taught that within each of us lives an image of the inner other, a psychic counterpart shaped by archetype, desire, and unconscious memory. Sometimes we meet someone who perfectly matches that inner figure, and for a brief moment, the dream takes form. But when they leave, something strange happens. The image stays, not outside but within. They become a ghost lover, not haunting your house, but your heart. Not disturbing you with noise, but with the eerie familiarity of emotional resonance. You may know rationally that they are gone, that they weren't what your mind hoped, but the psyche doesn't forget symbols so easily. It holds on to what felt archetypal, what touched the myth inside you. Gregg Braden speaks of energetic coherence, the moment when heart and mind align in deep truth. Until that alignment is found, the ghost remains, not to possess you, but to protect something unfinished. The phantom companion is not madness. It is the psyche's attempt to complete a sacred story, a myth that began long before their name appeared in your life. They weren't just a person, they were a carrier of something ancient, of something yours. There are letters never written, words never spoken, feelings that never found a voice, but the soul remembers them all and waits for the moment when meaning can emerge from the ash of what never was. In Jungian thought, what is not made conscious returns as fate. But when we dare to sit with the invisible, a new path opens, not to forget, but to translate. So imagine this: a quiet room, a candle lit not for magic, but for memory. A letter written not in desperation, but from the inner witness, that deeper voice within you that no longer begs, but understands. Ask softly, without accusation. What part of me did you awaken that I have not yet fully lived? Let the ink carry what the heart has kept. Let the pauses speak where no language exists, and when the letter feels complete, return it to the mystery, not to be sent, but to be released. Gregg Braden teaches that transformation is cellular when heart and meaning align. In this simple act of symbolic expression, coherence begins, not because they come back, but because what they stirred in you no longer needs their presence to grow. And as the letter burns, or is buried or held to the wind, say not goodbye, but this: I release you not because you didn't matter, but because your meaning is now mine to carry. Closure is not forgetting, it is when presence becomes essence. There are presences that live without a body, silences that hold the shape of a name, emotions that outlive logic, and connections that never followed the laws of time. You are not lost because you still feel them. You are awakening through what they stirred. You are translating absence into essence, pain into meaning. Carl Jung reminded us that what remains in the unconscious continues to act until it is brought into the light of awareness. These echoes, these dreams, these unexplainable visitations, they are not signs of madness. They are signs that something inside you still longs to be completed. Gregg Braden teaches that transformation happens not through forgetting, but through coherence, when heart, body, and memory align in truth. And the truth is this: they didn't stay because what they gave you wasn't meant to be held by them. It was always meant to become part of you. Their presence lingers not as an interruption, but as a calling, not as a ghost, but as a guide, not to return to the past, but to reclaim the part of you that met itself in their eyes. So if they still appear in a memory, a song, a dream, listen, not with longing but with reverence. They were never just a person, they were a turning point in your myth, and now you carry the flame. If you made it this far, comment, "Estoy despierta." Will let others know they are not alone in remembering what the soul refuses to forget. There's more to explore, more threads to untangle, and perhaps In the next video, we will speak of the dreams that keep choosing you. Shall we walk together once more through the inner night?